is so valuable. The person virtually sitting next to me today is an inspiration for countless people in metal cutting industry and beyond. It's our pleasure and we are fortunate to have him with us today for a discussion, and I'm sure this discussion is going to be as valuable for us as our most desirable experience. I am Sachin Sinha, and at our second episode of the interview series, I feel proud to introduce my guest today, Robert Seach. Robert is joining us from Switzerland, and that is the place where he runs his company called SARN Strategy. Robert has been quite instrumental in consulting international business development, mergers and acquisitions globally for the companies in metal cutting industry. His proposition is backed by his experience of 40 years in the metal cutting industry. Robert is a dynamic youngster at heart, and it's our extreme pleasure to have him with us today. So Robert, I welcome you to the Metal Cutting TV.
Sachin, I thank you wholeheartedly for such a wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure and an honor to partake in Metal Cutting TV today.
It's our pleasure as well. So Robert, how has it been to be in this industry for 4 decades? It's a long time. How do you feel about it?
Well, your question is amazing. Nobody ever asked me this question before. And in order to answer this question, I have to put my mind through, I have a bonus track. I can give you almost 50 years of experience. So this to me is amazing. I can run my life before my eyes, if you like. So I just wanted to quickly say, I give you some highlights in the last 50 years. So this would be a catalog of events as I see it in retrospect, right up to the current time. So in the 70s, way before you were born, Sachin, in the 70s, the big highlights for me, numerical control came in. I saw the first CNC sliding head machines, which I thought were amazing. You could make long, thin parts suddenly with CNC. So this was amazing. And the entry of Japanese machine tools on the world stage. And boy, did they arrive in a big way in the 70s. So in the 80s, the emergence of China. We talk about China all the time, but if you go back to this time, they were not a player on the world stage in manufacturing that all of us can now talk about. Private sector India, I will mention a few things in this meeting today about India because it's been part of my life too. So private sector India, this is amazing to watch from my perspective. And a personal note just in the end of this, hard turning. I noticed for the first time in the 80s, you could take a lathe, now it had to be a good platform, of course, and you could apply the latest cutting tool technology to 62 Rockwell hard metal, and you no longer had to grind. So this was a wake-up call. I cannot imagine if I take you back to 85. So in the 90s, of course, CE came in, Conformity Européenne, as they say, and this was coming in at a time, mid-90s, which to some extent rewrote the book on globalization of standards for machines. So computers came in at the same time in a big way. So we started to measure everything. Automotive came in big time, and they wanted everything. All parts had to be produced with reliable quality. So this was important. For me personally, also at this time, the Eastern Bloc opened up. The soft revolution of '89 opened up those global, now East Bloc has become a big player in our global market collection. And it started, we all forget, but it started actually at the beginning of the 90s. So I'll talk less about the new millennium, but the new millennium, of course, has continuously surprised us. When I think about the rise of Korean and Taiwan producers in the last 20 years, and now we class it as the norm. When I think about the increase in consumption in the Indian industries, which are so much occupied by private industry now. Amazing. It's amazing stuff. So machine tool technology, I'm not going to go through a catalog of additive manufacturing, etc. But what has happened in technology on machine tools themselves. Finally, medical as a product and mechanical part sector. Baby boomers like me, we all need spare parts now. And guess what? They're made on machines. So aren't we lucky? So that's how I see in just a few minutes the last 50 years.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the kind of information you carry, probably someone, I mean, who is interested can write a full book on this content. So, things you told me in the last few minutes, which I have, never imagined. I mean, probably it could have been like this in past. So, thank you so much. It's absolutely amazing. So, Robert, would you be interested in telling us about how your company SARN strategic, help the companies in metal cutting sector for transforming their business strategies and so that their businesses can grow and progress?
With pleasure, Sachin. This is my raison d'être, as they say in French. So the company here, SARN Strategic, which is in the Jura of Switzerland, we're right in Swiss precision here, but I think globally. So we are global business development company. So which company wouldn't like to grow its business globally? I think there are a few that don't, but most of them say, yes, it's me. So I've always been a big fan of listening first. So communication to me means to listen. And we are good at SARN Strategic, at engaging with companies who have aspirations of developing their growth, their business growth globally. And we then, within their limitations, this is very important, we try to balance their aspirations with what we think are the realistic, achievable goals. And then we become, let's say, advisors. We do research, we come up with recommendations, and we bring all these things together. And then at that point, we make the proposition to the company. And sometimes we help in the implementation, but very often we've become strategic at the sharp end and not operational at the implementation section of the project. That's what we do, first of all, to grow companies, to grow their business internationally.
Great. So I have another interesting, question related to the current scenario which is going on, the global pandemic of COVID-19. So time and again we hear from people that every crisis brings new opportunities. So keeping the current pandemic in center, do you sense some opportunities related to the mergers and acquisitions? And if yes, then how SARN strategic is placed to provide a kind of solution to it?
Okay, Sachin, yeah. My participation in the M&A sector is a byproduct of my machine tool activity. So I'm working in this sector now for 3 years only, and I was working, as you realize, in the machine tool sector for much longer. However, I have discovered what an amazing business segment this is. So the current climate has brought into stark relief those companies now that wish to participate in M&A. These companies can be in two categories. One category can be privately owned companies. Some of them can still be very large, even though they're privately owned. And the tough times everybody is in right now does drive the ownership to say, I think it's time for me to step out. I don't want to face the challenges ahead, and maybe I don't have young followers in my family. So that's one type of candidate, one type of company that is interested to work with us. And the second type is a very successful company, has a very attractive portfolio, has global reach, but like everyone else, times are getting very tough. So they're looking for an alliance with a like-minded and like-structured company. And 1 + 1 will then equal 3. And they can go on post-COVID and seek stronger domination together. So that's also what we do in our activity here, SARN Strategic M&A. I can tell you why I think we're well equipped to do it, by the way. So I am an associate partner of International Scope Limited, which is a Swiss corporation. And this company is part of the Global Scope USA International Network. So Global Scope USA is an M&A, frontline M&A company, and they have 55 independent firms, M&A firms, throughout all continents. And in fact, in India, we have companies, MAP Advisory Group in Chennai, and the RCS Advisors in New Delhi and Mumbai. So, for example, Global Scope is in your country. So SARN Strategic can make the difference because we are in the business that has really fed the machine tool accessories industry for so long. So I am again advising wherever it is necessary in M&A to do with that sector. So that's why I'm an associate with International Scope here in Switzerland, again, thinking out globally.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thanks for showing this dimension to us, and probably our viewers can also take benefit of it. Maybe, you know, if they are able to see a link with their businesses.
Yep, we're very welcome. We're welcoming your viewers who would be interested to talk further to us. Sachin, thank you.
So, Robert, see, I mean, recently we observed that a lot of many machine tool associations globally are cancelling big events like GymTOF, AME, and IMTS. And industry people really look forward to these events, you know, because they happen once in a year or once in 2 years, and you know, there are a lot of activities which are attached, and probably the projections of the business are also dependent on these kind of events. So, how important do you think these events are for our industrial ecosystem, and how do you see the cancellations happening globally?
Sachin, this is a very, very important topic right now, because starting in February, we've seen just endless cancellations or deferments of trade shows in our industry. And one by one, we have canceled all our flights, etc. It's been a very challenging year, but more for the exhibitors themselves and for those clients who had hoped to look at the latest technology. Personally, and so this is my personal view, I think that we will need trade shows to continue throughout the next period, post-COVID. I think they are vitally important to showcase new technology for customers to visit and observe what is happening in the industry at all levels. It can be machine tool level, it can be tooling, accessories, work holding, you name it, peripherals. And these exhibitions are also platforms for distribution. Don't forget, there's so much distribution of product going on in the market. I don't see this role of trade shows changing anytime soon. I really mean that. I think it's, and I'm talking to people all the time who are having to live through virtual editions of the shows and the disappointment of their customers that they could not visit the exhibition. So that's one point I wanted to make, because there's a lot of speculation about the future of exhibitions. Can I make another point as well to do with the same topic? Yeah. Okay. I think if you look at emerging economies, particularly with emerging manufacturing sectors, this is so important that those companies, emerging companies in manufacturing, they see the technology that's available to them. And you can look online forever. You cannot talk with specialists in the way that you can at a trade show. So I still believe, in terms of developing markets, the future of the metal cutting industry worldwide. I mean, we've seen such growth in Asia, we've seen such growth in South America, and we will continue to see growth in mature markets too. We need trade shows.
Good. Thanks for the insights. I think it's quite helpful for many people in the industry who listen to it.
Okay.
So, Robert, can you share your views on how the industry is seeking multiple strategies towards the reduction of cost and streamlining their processes? Because it's a big subject for most of the industries in the current scenario.
Yeah, this is a very broad subject, Sachin. It's also an amazingly important subject right now. If you say, well, what do we think metal cutting really is? We think of machine tools. We think of work holding. You have to hold the parts. We think of cutting the parts. We think of lubricants. We've seen a lot of automation in the last 20 years, or before the last 20 years. And of course, measurement. Measurement has become so important. Process measurements, optimizing process. And the spindle that is the interface between the work holding and the tools that cut, this is the focus of so much activity right now. Means the platform upon which the machine sits is one thing, but the spindle and how we measure at the spindle, everything that we know, and how we improve the process at the spindle, this is becoming a tremendously big subject. And so much data is flowing into, as we all know, the 4.0 area and becoming. So this is interesting. I want to also make a point. I visited a lubricant manufacturer here in Switzerland this week. And they really, of course, also are very interested in the way the future of manufacturing develops in this post-COVID period. The COVID period has brought major health-related issues center stage. And so we're now thinking hard, as everybody is, what is the future of the working environment? Just breathing can kill you. So this is heavy stuff. So the lubricant manufacturer is really focused more than ever before on the working environment. So I do believe that although we're very well equipped to talk about the smart factory, I think we will also now be talking about the safe factory in a way that we never thought we would prior to COVID.
Robert, would you like to share some special message with our viewers or some kind of experiential advice for them from your side?
I can tell you the following, or rather I can tell everyone the same. Try to understand the terrain before choosing the path. And this is very interesting. You should always step back in your analysis of what you believe you should be doing. Should you try to improve a process in manufacturing? Could it be important that you understand every factor around all of these points before you make one change to one element? So this is just a tip from my side. Just open your mind, think out of the box, make a lot of notes, and then clear your mind and predefine your actions into an achievable goal set. So I mentioned this earlier. Don't dream too much. Keep yourself focused on facts. And when you do implement your project, please measure and measure and measure and feedback and correct throughout the implementation of the project. Funnily enough, and it's not very funny at all, COVID-19 has brought every day to us on our television screens measurements. And it's amazing how the measurements have gone into everybody's mind as being vital to the survival of the planet. So I'm a big believer in measurements and in how important those measurements are. And what's new, I could say, huh? So that's just my tip for today. Think about it, think before you act, and then implement, keep correcting, as we're doing daily right now with COVID, and you'll have a better result at the end.
We sincerely thank you for investing your time with us today, and having these discussions, and the experiences which we have shared eventually become learning for us. And on behalf of our viewers and the Metal Cutting TV team, I wish you a very good time and good health. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Seach.